we want to look at quite a few issues in the polity, starting with the ongoing legal battle and public opinion issue between Chief Afe Babalola and Mr. Dele Farotimi regarding the criminal defamation case in Ekiti State. To join me in this discussion, I have a veteran journalist, a retired banker, and a notable Nigerian author, Mr. Etim Hetim. You're welcome to Inside Sources. It's your first time. You're welcome to Inside Sources, Mr. Etim.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
All right, thank you. And welcoming back to Inside Sources is an attorney, an Abuja-based lawyer, Mr. Ibrahim Wali. Welcome back to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Mr. Lawal. It's my pleasure being here one more time.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's start with Etim. As a journalist and a writer yourself, how do you assess this, what has become an obsession in the last 1 week in the news about the arrest of Mr. Farotimi and all the flurry of activities and public opinion that this has attracted, in a very compelling way? What's your take, just to open up?
My take is that it has taken a life of its own, and I'm not sure any of the parties had expected that things would come this way. It's grabbed headlines. Everybody is surprised. Well, as a citizen, my sense is that Chief Babalola probably shouldn't have taken this route. He too would be reflecting on whether this is the best course of action. I've seen the book. I've read portions of it. Yes, it might be very difficult for the old man himself, but he should have reflected a lot more deeply and taken a different route. I think he went for the kill. Dele himself is a tough nut for those of us who know him.
Yeah.
I think he's prepared for this and is ready for him.
And that's the point that I also share, Etim, that I think a lot of the people who have commented about this in the public, especially the lawyers, they seem to underestimate Mr. Farotimi's resolve.
Correct.
We can determine, we don't know, the judge and the courts, we sort out the issues, but it is very clear that Mr. Farotimi knows what he's doing.
I'm sure he has something he will bring up in the court, and people will be saying, Dele, you again.
Well, that's why we have Mr. Ibrahim Wali, exactly, to help us clear how the legal issues. And the first thing I wanted you to address, Mr. Wali, is, in addition to whatever else you like to say, is that, so there's a bit of confusion about this idea of criminal defamation. I have heard lawyers say that, as a matter of fact, criminal defamation is out of the books. There's a Court of Appeal ruling, there's a Supreme Court ruling. I've also had lawyers, actually, Mr. Femi Falana said that where there are 2 states in Nigeria that have decriminalized criminal defamation, Edo and Lagos. So my first question, if you could help us, Mr. Wali, is, what is the situation? Is there criminal defamation still? Is it still, I don't know what's the language I use in law. Is this still something that somebody can be charged with in Nigeria today?
Thank you so much for the question. Indeed, in Nigeria today, criminal defamation is an offense. It is provided for in the Criminal Procedure Act, which is applicable in the southern states that have adopted and domesticated it, and also in the Criminal Procedure Code applicable in the northern states that have domesticated it. These laws, although federal in nature, are meant to actually apply to states that don't have their own primary criminal codes. But states like Lagos, for example, and Edo states who have gone on to, enact their own criminal codes have removed the provisions for criminal defamation. So in those 2 jurisdictions, you cannot charge for criminal jurisdiction. But I think even in Ekiti State, when we looked at the law itself, they also have their own criminal code. When we looked at it, they also don't have any provision for criminal defamation. But indeed, for the states who actually operate within these codes, you can be charged for criminal defamation. But I think what is important for people to understand is that regardless of the fact that it is there in the law, it's actually a misdemeanor. The offense for criminal defamation is just 1 year. If it is libel, it's just 2 years. So I personally don't see how criminal defamation...
When lawyers say, I'm sorry for, but when they say that, 1 year, 2 years in jail, that's a lot of time for anybody to want to be in jail. But I see your point.
It does look like a lot of time, but by the legal stratas, it's still a misdemeanor. Right. 3 years to 7 or above is a felony, and then you go on up to capital punishment. But yes, it's a misdemeanor. 1 year or 2 years max. Sometimes you might even get an option of fine, but it's not provided for in the law itself. So I don't think that it is an adequate remedy anyway for defamation. First of all, it doesn't restore reputation. And secondly, and importantly, it doesn't really give you the remedy, because even if somebody spends 1 year or 2 years in prison, I don't think that really helps you. In fact, it might just be,
it might worsen your matter.
It might worsen your, because people are going to think that you are using state machinery. Correct. I think it is the civil process that actually gives you a rounded remedy, and allows it's more credible, it's more transparent. There's no involvement of the state. It is actually the party himself funding his own proceedings. But I think they've started filing civil suits. I think I've seen 1 or 2, and I think that it's impressive, because it's going to add to our jurisprudence, to our defamation jurisprudence. But there is a trend globally, and even in Nigeria, that's really sweeping against criminal defamation. Even her lordship, Ogunmiju, at the Supreme Court, she once held that, it is a trend that criminal defamation is really relegated now, because it doesn't serve any purpose, frankly. It's become an oppressive tool, with time. So
it was designed to be oppressive because the colonists brought it.
Ab initio, it was designed to yes. But yeah, it doesn't have any utility today, frankly, save to intimidate and to punish before even deciding whether or not there's defamation. So I think that is a problem. But the civil route is just more transparent, and you get a more robust remedy. You get apologies, you get retraction, you get as much as you can compute for your damages. And it's just you can also get decisions to destroy the publication, to damage the publication, to stop the publications and stuff like that. All of these remedies you can really only get in a civil court. And then obviously you give the person the chance, the opportunity, the fair hearing to come and see if they can justify their assertions, and if not, the court is going to make its decision. But I think the criminal routes already taking the criminal route is more emotional than it's logical, because it doesn't help. Doesn't restore. And if you look at social media reactions, you'd see that that criminal route is why maybe Chief is finding the media decision a little bit difficult.
All right. Yes. So let me take it to Mr. Etin. So, you have read the book. I have read the book too. But do you think that the reputation of the judiciary itself with the Nigerian people, and I think even lawyers and judges have also spoken to this, I think it was the retired Justice Datijo, even Amina Oji, that ruling that she gave over the Bayelsa case, where she did accuse 2 leading lawyers, whose name I won't mention just to respect them, said that their action desecrated, correct, the temple of justice, and that the motion that they filed, is it a motion, the case that they brought was vexatious. Amina Oji, retired justice, said she had tears in her eyes reading that judgment. So there are issues in the Nigerian judiciary. Etin, the question is, has this case worsened the situation in terms of the perception that Nigerians have about the judiciary?
This case has reminded Nigerians once again of the ugliness in the judiciary. Where, every now and then, a lot of people speak about it, lawyers speak about it, judges themselves speak about it, and Nigerians have almost become frustrated, throwing up their hands in the air. What else can we do? Every 4 years, especially during election petitions, Nigerians read meanings into all such cases in the court. So we have always known that there are issues in the judiciary. And Dele wrote about it in his book and cited examples. Very few people read the book, but now the book has become a global phenomenon.
It became Amazon's bestseller last week.
Nobody wanted that. And people are looking for the book everywhere to read. So the judiciary itself is in trouble because of this case. I'm also worried about the political environment. It seems to be poisoning the political environment. Some people are saying that it is even the government that is behind Dele's travels. You know, the way we read meanings into everything. So all sort of insinuations are going on out there and creating once again impression that this is an era of intolerance. Big men hammering small men, government intimidating free speech and free thinkers and civil rights activists. So this is not a very good case. This shouldn't have happened. I just hope, my sense is that somewhere down the line, wisdom will prevail and Chief will come to a conclusion that this should be taken out of the court and settled amicably.
Well, you know, I mean...
That is what maybe I'm hoping for.
Exactly. I think part of the challenges, and I think Mr. Wally's insinuated that point, is that already, Mr. Farotimi has had to be punished. Even when we get a chance, before we get a chance whether this was actually defamatory or not, the man is being punished.
Yes.
One court said that, okay, we give you bail. The other one said no bail, But I want to take it back to Mr. Wally. So some lawyers have said that, Mr. Farotimi shouldn't have done that. He's a lawyer, you understand? But is there a potential professional misconduct? Well, maybe that's that's not before the court, so you can talk about that.
It is before the LPDC. I think that I've seen a process before the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so it might be tricky to talk about anything that is subject.
I understand that.
Yes, but I would just like to say that anytime there's a case of this nature, as with any other case, frankly, it is actually the judiciary that's on trial, not the parties. Parties would come and go, but the judiciary remains, constant. So it is difficult to reconcile or to tell the people that a magistrate court, an inferior court, whose processes are mostly dispensed with summarily and orally, first of all, refused to take, an oral application for his bail. He had to go and come back, and
twice now.
Yes, I'll get to the second one.
Okay.
And during the process, before he came back, for the second time, he went to the Federal Court. They charged him to the Federal Court under the Cyber Crimes Act, and he was able to get bail. I think it was orally. So for the magistrate court not to give bail for a misdemeanor, the court of summary jurisdiction, and for the Federal Court, who usually insist on written applications to give bail, obviously there's an inconsistency that you just can't reconcile to the common man.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
We are confused.
Yes, it is confusing. Okay, fine. We agree that, okay, put it in writing. They did put it in writing, and then they came, I think it was yesterday, they went to court, and then they moved their application, and then it was adjourned for 10 days. For ruling. Even the Federal Court, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I don't think I've ever gotten 10 days for ruling in the Federal Court. It's usually, if the court, my lord cannot give it on that day, it's usually the next day or 2 days later. That is even in the Federal Court where, there are applications, there are affidavits, counter affidavits, and, it's a court of superior court, and the court is going to have to look into the facts before coming to a decision. So I'm surprised that a magistrate is going to adjourn the matter for 10 days for ruling on bail. I've never seen that before, frankly, and I don't think that augurs well for the perception of the judiciary.
And it all fits into the general perception that this is not ordinary matter.
Yes.
Well, you know, I mean, I know, but I don't think that government is involved.
No, I don't think so, but I'm not the only one in this country.
Oh, of course.
There are many people, a lot of Nigerians are conspiracy theorists.
Many people in the obedient movement really think that the government is involved.
Yes, it's
but I know that the government is not involved. Look,
no.
I mean, just for purposes of recall, Chief Afe Babalola was the lawyer of the federal government when they denied Lagos State their federal allocation for years after the ruling of the Supreme Court. You know, Chief Afe Babalola was, you know, one of the legal advisors of General Obasanjo was president. So I don't think that they are going to be dandy with President Tinubu, because that was a real blow. You know, I mean, if Governor Tinubu then wasn't innovative, they could have run down the state because they denied them their allocation. So I mean, although, you know, stuff changes, but people should remember that, you know, when we're talking about
the reality is I don't think there's anything that has happened yet to suggest, you know, government interference. I don't think that anything that has happened yet is outside the capacity of a, you know, private person in Nigeria. I think most private people, if they know their way, if, you know, they have the resources, I think that they can, you know, do the same things. It's one of the problems with the system, obviously. So the presidency or the government doesn't have to actually be involved before you can invoke all these machineries that have been invoked. And especially for someone like Chief, I don't think that he needs any presidential backing to fight this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Etimetim and Mr. Ibrahim Wali, for your contributions. Our time is fast spent. Thank you for coming to Sources.